And I want to ask you and all your listeners, Katie, for one moment to think about this question. If Mr. Chesbro was the architect of the fake elector scheme, if Mr. Chesbro was the architect of some plan to bring down democracy, which is what I've heard over and over for the last couple of months, both in court and out of court, would the district attorney of Fulton County have offered him probation and first offender status? I think the answer is no. And I think if you asked her, the answer would be no. And so while Mr. Chesbro did take responsibility for conspiracy to commit filing of false documents, I want to make something clear. He did not implicate anyone else. He implicated himself in that particular charge. And while he is required to go testify truthfully if he's called by the state, and Mr. Chesbro is a man of his word, and he will go testify truthfully if called by the state's going to have to decide at some point whether they think Mr. Chesbro's testimony will help them. And if they believe it will help them, well, they'll call him and he'll come testify. But also at the same time, Katie, I will say, if he's called by a defendant, he will come testify and testify truthfully.
Scott, now, listen, you and I have been doing this for a long time, right? Although I technically don't do it anymore. I do this. But your client gave a recorded proffer to the state of Georgia. And what did he say?
I'm not at liberty to say exactly what he said, but here's what I'm at liberty to say. Someone asked me earlier, if you were Donald Trump, would you be worried? And I could personally, honestly answer no. And it's not that Mr. Chesbro is trying to protect Donald Trump or anyone else. He's not. He's ready to move on with his life. But I was there in the proffer. Again, I'm not going to say what was said because it is a confidential proffer and that will probably get me in trouble. But I can say that I personally do not believe the state will call him to testify on their behalf. If they do, and if I'm wrong, Mr. Chesbro will be there. He'll testify truthfully. If I were the state, Scott, I would not call.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. So we've all got those friends, right, that believe literally every stinking thing that they hear, right? And worse than believing it. They soak it all up without even being close to understanding it. They don't even realize that they don't understand it. They just hear words and other people believe it. So it just becomes somehow some kind of strange truth. But then they go a step further, right? And they spread it to other people. Again, without even realizing that they have no idea what they're talking about. And this fake elector BS out of Georgia is exactly one of those topics, man. And, you know, truly, it feels good when we've armed ourselves with enough true and factual information to just look our buddies right in the square in the eye and just completely crush their dreams and destroy whatever bogus narrative that they're trying to peddle to us, right? The deer in the headlight look, it never ever gets old. It's awesome when they're intellectually honest enough to actually give you that look and realize that they don't know what they're talking about. It gets even better when we get to see it happen in real time to the poor mushy brain people on CNN. But guys, before I get into that, thanks so much to everyone that's been subscribing and leaving such great comments. We're building a great community. We're having a lot of fun. Guys, if you haven't already, please join us. Help us to continue to grow. Like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. So this is all about the RICO case against Trump in Georgia, where two of his attorneys have already pled guilty to very, very, very minor charges, right? And if we're to believe the media, those two attorneys, they're ready to testify to everything that the media believes and bring this entire Trump show to a grinding, screeching halt, right? And just the fact that they've pled guilty is supposed to be enough to just call the case right now and throw away the key. Trump's a wrap. Take a look.
Look, today, your client has now implicated Trump in this criminal conspiracy. If he is called upon to testify in this Georgia case, is he willing to implicate Trump on a witness stand, which seems to be required in this plea deal that he just struck?
So, Abby, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Second of all, I am going to respectfully disagree with you on one thing. I don't think he implicated anyone but himself. And I just want to point out two important facts that I think will get exactly to your question. Not only did he avoid jail time, but this is the most important. He did not plead guilty to the RICO charge. Mr. Chesbro pled guilty, and I printed it out to make sure I had the exact words, conspiracy to commit filing of false documents. The RICO charge was dismissed. And listen, Mr. Chesbro accepted responsibility for count 15 of the indictment, and he agreed that if he were called by the state, he would come testify truthfully. And he is a man of his word, and he will do that. Whether his testimony is going to be helpful to the state, that's going to be for the state to decide. I personally do not see his testimony being helpful for the state, but if the state wants to call him, he absolutely will come and tell the truth. And if they think that's helpful for them, and they think they could convince a jury that his testimony is helpful for them, then so be it.
So who in Mr. Chesbro's view was the architect of this fake electors plot?
Mr. Chesbro doesn't think there was a fake electors plot. And Abby, please, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but the fake electors plot was part of the RICO conspiracy. And Fani Willis dismissed the RICO charge. And the charge that he pled to has nothing to do with being the architect of the fake elector plot. And I will say, and I will ask anyone listening to ask themselves this question. If Mr. Chesbro was the architect of the fake elector plot, then would the district attorney of Fulton County offer him 5 years probation and first offender? I don't think she would. And that really just proves that while he did accept responsibility for count 15, that he was never the architect of the fake elector plot. And I think if you asked him who was, I think he would say there wasn't a fake elector plot. And there certainly wasn't an architect, and it certainly wasn't him.
Yeah. So there's that. That's what we have, and here's where we're at. And what we have, honestly, is a guy that the media has told you was the head of it all for months now. The brains of the whole operation, the mastermind, and the government just gave him a $5,000 fine and probation. He'd probably have gotten more punishment out of a DUI in Georgia, if we're being honest. And yeah, this plea deal, according to the media, is now the end of Trump. You know, how many times have they tricked themselves into believing this? I mean, who's keeping count, right? We're supposed to believe that the architect gets probation, but the guy that moved into the building that he built is going to go away for life or whatever they think is going to happen to Trump. What kind of sense could that possibly make to even people barely paying attention, right? You know, I used to believe that the media couldn't possibly believe the insane fantasies that they portray to these poor mushy brain victims of theirs. But I really do believe that they believe this stuff. I think that the media generally has become staffed with people that are so unintelligent and really they've become the victims of their own bubble that they actually believe this stuff, man. You know, this is exactly why you don't get high on your own supply, by the way. This is the kind of stuff that happens. You end up believing what can only be described as nonsense. So here's what actually happened. The government, they had no case, no real case against this man. They had enough to charge him. They had enough to drag him through the thing and put his, faith in a jury. Anything can happen. But they knew they were most likely going to lose in a trial, in open court, probably on TV. And the guy had already turned down multiple pleas that would have had him serving just a tiny bit of jail time anyway. And he said, no, I did nothing wrong. There is no fake electors. I'm going to trial. And at the very last possible moment, the government gave him a plea for probation. And once his probation is over, it's clean off his record, like it never even existed. I mean, does that sound like the treatment that a dangerous democracy thief connected to Donald Trump would be getting from a leftist like Fani Willis if they had any kind of case at all? No, not to me at least. That's just my opinion. I thought you guys would like to see this. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, guys. Tell me if you think that I've got it right or if I'm way off. And if you really are one of the few people that can still look at this mess and convince yourself that Trump is going down, please explain that to me. And guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. We'll see you in the next one.